Even though Charlie Connors passed away in 1992, his legacy extends far beyond his television series. He had a reputation as a rifleman, his scandalous affairs nearly derailed his career, and he had a clandestine role in the Cold War negotiations. His life was as thrilling as any Western. The truth about a Brooklyn baseball player's rise to Soviet hero status, the scandalous endings to his 3 marriages, and the dark secret he kept until his death finally emerges after 30 years of speculation. Brooklyn, New York was the site of Kevin Joseph Aloysius Connors' birth on April 10, 1921. Chuck Connors was his stage name. Originally from Ireland, Alan and Marcella Connors came to the U.S. as children. While the Great Depression was going on, they toiled away to provide for their family. His mother worked odd jobs to support the family, while his father worked as a longshoreman. Chuck learned the value of perseverance through adversity. Chuck frequented the Bay Ridge Boys Club for his athletic pursuits as a child, living in a working-class neighborhood. He dreamed of playing baseball for the Brooklyn Dodgers because he loved the game. A lot happened to Chuck when he was 14 years old. He was offered a spot on the athletic team at the private Brooklyn high school, Adelphi Academy, after scouts noticed his athletic prowess. He made the most of this significant opportunity. While at Adelphi, he excelled on the football, baseball, basketball, and track and field teams. Chuck had a tremendous career at first base for the baseball team. He was recognized as one of Brooklyn's top high school athletes in 1939. Following his high school graduation, Chuck was offered athletic scholarships by over 25 different colleges. He played on the baseball and basketball teams at Seton Hall, a university in New Jersey that he had chosen. His height and defense helped the basketball team win while he was a backup center. His true talent, though, lay in baseball. Baseball scouts from the major leagues took notice of Chuck after he famously drove in 6 runs and hit 2 home runs in a 1,942 game. During this time, Chuck became known by his current name. His command of the first base field and his trademark yell, "Chuck it to me," earned him the nickname. Due to the war, Chuck was unable to attend college. After enlisting in 1942, he attended Fort Knox for military training. His height and athleticism led to his selection as a tank warfare instructor. He then went on to instruct West Point troops and even some well-known football players who won national championships. Chuck continued to follow athletic events even while serving his country. He also played professional basketball in the American Basketball League and baseball in his spare time in Brooklyn. After 3 years of honorable service, Chuck was discharged from the Army in 1946. He was a member of the Boston Celtics from their inaugural season in 1946, the year after he was discharged from the Army. At 6 feet 5 inches tall, he played center and forward. Connors averaged 4 goals per game in 49 appearances that season, earned 5 points every time. The game he played at his best was on December 13, 1946. He was instrumental in the team's 15-14 point victory over the Providence Steamrollers. He briefly participated in basketball, but that was all. Connors left the Celtics in February 1947 after just a few months on the team to pursue his other passion, baseball. Joining the Brooklyn Dodgers on May 1, 1949 was his big break. On the other hand, things were rocky from the start. The Dodgers lost Connors' lone game with the team because he hit into a double play. He persevered. He put in more time and effort playing for minor league clubs like the Montreal Royals. With the Chicago Cubs, he returned to the major leagues in 1951. In addition, he played in 66 games that season and had a few big games. On July 18, 1951, he took on the New York Giants and hit his maiden home run. On August 26, 1 month later, he struck out against the Giants. When the season came to a close, he had 48 hits and a batting average. 239 is a respectable total for a dual-sport athlete. Chuck Connors' path to Hollywood began in an incredibly peculiar manner. In 1952, he was a member of the Los Angeles Angels minor league baseball team. While playing the Sacramento Solons on a bright and sunny afternoon, an unusual event occurred. Chuck smashed a grand slam. Billy Gordon, a casting director from MGM, was in the crowd when this home run went over the fence, but any home run would have done. The sight of Chuck's massive frame and rugged features captivated Billy. After the game, he wasted no time getting Chuck his card and headed straight to the locker room. "You should think about acting," Chuck said, but he didn't mean it seriously. He didn't consider himself an actor and was more interested in sports. Next thing you know, Chuck hurt himself playing just 2 weeks later. There was room for reflection since it wasn't a pressing matter. Because he was curious, he paid a visit to MGM to see the big deal. The rapid administration of a screen test caught him off guard. Everything they saw after he gave it a go was good. It took Chuck just 3 days to sign his first deal with a Hollywood studio. After making that hasty decision, his life would change irrevocably. Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn co-starred in his first film role, the romantic comedy Pat and Mike. It was a huge deal, since Chuck was just getting his acting chops. Even though his role was minor, he played a police captain. Chuck felt a mix of excitement and fear on the first day of filming. He spent hours getting ready after arriving early. Even though his scene didn't happen until much later that night, he nailed it on the first try. When they were alone later on, Spencer Tracy remarked, "You've got something. Keep going." Those were some very encouraging words, and they gave Chuck the will to keep going. Following that, Chuck wasted no time getting down to business. Regardless of the size of the part, he played it. From 1952 to 1958, he appeared in over 20 films. People will remember him best for his role as Bern Sanderson in Disney's 1957 film Old Yeller. The film was a smashing success, further elevating Chuck's star power. He co-starred with John Wayne in films like Trouble Along the Way and appeared in The Big Country alongside Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston. With each role, his acting skills improved and his fame grew. Connors had a busy television career in addition to his film work. He appeared in 18 separate shows. Due to his dedication and versatility, Connors was able to excel in both film and television, which was unusual for actors of his time. He put in long hours for 6 years, appeared in over 1,400 minutes of screen time, and played a wide variety of roles. He was better prepared for the next phase of his job after this. It took Chuck Connors a while to become famous after his role as Lucas McCain in The Rifleman. Old Yeller, Disney's 1957 film, featured him as a father figure. His acting skills convinced the producers of The Rifleman that he would be an excellent addition to their show. The lower salary compared to his other playing jobs was the main reason Connors initially turned it down. His producers were so smitten with him that they offered him a 5% ownership stake in the company, in addition to more money. Because of that, he decided to portray the role. Connors wasted no time in getting ready for the role after he was cast. He honed his skills as a horseback rider and mastered the art of the show-stopping gunshot. Rod Redwing, who is highly skilled with firearms, taught him the techniques. Connors, though, kept at it until he perfected it. Because of all the work he did, his hands hurt and burned. Immediate success followed the show's September 30, 1958 debut. Over 14 million people watched the pilot episode. Although Connors' Lucas McCain was a rough and tumble guy, he had a soft spot for his son Mark, played by Johnny Crawford. Witnessing the bond between the father and son was a highlight of the show. Connors was praised by some for effectively displaying both emotion and power. The gun in the show was also quite significant. Specifically, it was a Winchester 1892 that had undergone some modifications to render it distinctive. Connors could spin it in a cool way, so the handle was made really big. It became his trademark move, and every show began with it. Exciting scenes were also created by the gun's ability to shoot very quickly, which was made possible by a unique screw in the trigger. Since the gun became so well known, Winchester decided to create a real-life replica for the enthusiasts. It would take McCain seconds to defeat a gang of bad guys with it. War wasn't the only thing on display, though. The Rifleman stood out from the crowd since it revolved around family. A father in the Old West, Lucas McCain was left to raise his son alone after the death of his wife. Unlike most TV homes of the time, this one didn't show both parents. The show spent a lot of time discussing the challenges Lucas faced as a parent and guardian. In one scene, his fear for his son's safety made him reluctant to allow Mark to speak in court. Another had Lucas teaching Mark self-control while he had to control his own emotions. The friendship between Lucas and Mark seemed genuine, which made it relatable to many people, particularly single fathers. Many people expressed their gratitude to Connors in letters for making them realize they were not alone in their struggles. Chuck Connors, who starred in the show, was also heavily involved in its production. Writing after the death of his wife, one man said, "Your show has given me the courage to keep going." It was during the second season that he began interacting with the writers. Some of the stories he pitched became popular television series thanks to his creative mind. One of them, The Photographer, was inspired by an incident that occurred during Connors' baseball career when he had to calm down an overly enthusiastic fan. For Lucas McCain, Connors double-checked that his lines were authentic to his character. To achieve his goal of making McCain sound like a genuine cowboy from that era, he altered numerous lines to incorporate slang from that time. Also, Connors put a lot of effort into making McCain a relatable character for the reader. He was against making McCain appear to be an ideal hero. He wanted stories that exposed McCain's shortcomings and moral dilemmas. For that reason, McCain accidentally murders a decent man in one episode. Connors insisted on this storyline because he felt it needed to highlight the peril of gun ownership. Guest stars like former baseball teammate Duke Snider and up-and-coming players like pilot episode guest star Dennis Hopper were both helped by Connors. Some shows even acknowledged Connors as a story consultant by the time the show ended because of his significant impact. Even the two-part series finale, which he co-wrote, returned familiar faces and resolved all loose ends. Considering the amount of competition, it is quite an achievement that the first season of The Rifleman became the fourth most popular show on television. On September 30, 1958, it debuted with 14 episodes, 6 million households, and it has a 33-point rating according to Nielsen. 1 dot. Many viewers were captivated by the touching father-son relationship, while others were drawn in by the thrilling action sequences.